The Bobby O Show.
Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bob O'Potzner, and I have what I hope you will agree with me is a phenomenal show today. I have a terrific guest named Amy Piantaggini. She's Executive Director of the Richfield Conservatory of Dance. She's a professional dancer in her time. She's an educator. She's an author. She's a teacher. She is very much of a Renaissance woman. But there's a picture of Amy right now, and we're going to talk to Amy about her background and what she's doing now in terms of education. You're going to have fun today, and so will you, Amy. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on today.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. I'm going to read a little bit about you.
Okay.
And you'll be a little, since you're so humble, you'll be a little bit embarrassed to have me read so much, but let me read this so that people know who you are. And I'm going to give a little bit about your background because it'll build up to what we're going to talk about in terms of your latest venture. Amy has been Executive Director of the Richfield Conservatory of Dance, right on Main Street, since 2013, where she has taught since 2006. She trained at the Boston Conservatory and the Martha Graham School of Contemporary Dance. We'll discuss that later, what those are, where she received scholarships from the Gregory Peck Foundation and is a finalist for the Coca-Cola Award for Artistic Excellence. As a performer, she is a former member of the Martha Graham Dance Company and the Martha Graham Dance Ensemble, in which she danced many soloist roles, including Satiric Festival Song and Conversation of Lovers. Anna Kisselgoff of the New York Times said that Amy, quote, made a luminous New York debut in Graham's Abstract View. That's October 7, 1998. It's a couple years ago. Amy has danced for the companies of Javier Dizal, Richard Mauve, and James Roby, who taught my daughter at the Richfield Conservatory many years ago, and currently dances for Edgar Cortez Dance Theater. You still do that, right?
Actually, it's been quite a while since we've done something, but
okay.
Hopefully in the future.
Okay, so maybe I have a little older.
Yeah.
And she received her MFA in interdisciplinary arts from Goddard College with a focus in early American modern dance and embodiment studios. I have, if I read the whole background, I have another page and a half, which I don't want to go through right now, but she's also right now the Executive Director of the Richfield Conservatory. And I'm going to have you tell me a little bit about yourself. So tell me, born and raised where?
Oh, Pepperell, Massachusetts. Well, born, I guess, in Lawrence, Massachusetts. But yeah, grew up in Massachusetts in a very small town and had just the luck of fate of having a really excellent dance educator in the town next to mine, Townsend. So it was Spectrum Dance Theater, Robin Movsesian. Still a great mentor of mine, and went to the Boston Conservatory, but left after 1 year to pursue training at the Graham School. And yeah, then went to the Martha Graham Dance Company, where I danced until I had my first son, who is now 20-something.
It's probably 13 or 14.
Yeah. Well, the younger one is 15.
Okay, so that's your background. I know a little bit about ballet, very little, because my daughter, as I said, from like third grade in Richfield till I think her senior in high school, was dancing 4 days a week at the studio. And until she broke her toe between her sophomore and junior in high school, she did a lot of ballet, and then she did modern, whatever. And I was always amazed at how hard her friends worked to be good dancers. And she had some of her friends, including one of the masters, Dye Masters kids, who went and did a lot of things professionally, I don't know professionally, but after the graduation. And I had a son who played football. And I used to think that what my son learned from his older guys when he played football, my daughter learned from the ladies who were dancing at her studio. And I think that was a really good thing about that. Is that a part of what happens at conservatory, where there's a desire to have the older young ladies help the little kids?
Absolutely. It's teamwork. It's part of the spirit. It's everything you get from a sports team is what you get with a dance team as well. And yeah, mentorship is really important to us. Our older dancers, we have so many who like to volunteer to assist. We have a great assistance program as well. And yeah, I think that a mentorship is super important.
I walk almost
Leadership.
every day, 4 miles a day in downtown Richfield, so I always go by your studio, and it's amazing to see different ages of kids who were dancing, and you see the instructors
Yeah.
as we go by.
As young as 1.
As young as 1.
Yeah.
Before they even can walk, perhaps.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, before we get to some of these other factors, when did you decide you were going to be a dancer? How did you and when?
I think it was when I was about 14 and my teacher took us to see the Martha Graham Dance Ensemble at the time, and I just thought, like, I could hear their breath on stage, and it was such a visceral response I had to the work of realizing, it's so interesting because I actually, when I was young, really thought I wanted to pursue music at a professional level. I played the clarinet, flute, saxophone in school, and I really was passionate about that. But at a certain point, I realized I could actually physically embody that music.
Did you sing?
I absolutely did not and do not sing.
So so we're not going to ask you to sing today. I just want to mention.
No, thank you.
And we're not going to ask you to dance. I couldn't afford your fees to have paid to dance there. So you decided to do dancing, and at what level did you take it super seriously? How old were you when you decided?
Yeah, 14.
14
was when I was like, I'm going to train multiple times per week, and probably by the time I was 16, knew I was going to try to dance in college, but struggled with that a little bit because, had my eye on ballet initially, and I knew even from that young age, like, not sure how much longevity there was. I'd also started a little bit late, taken it seriously a little too late for ballet.
14 is too late?
For a professional ballet career, for most, yeah. But had a career in modern and really ultimately felt that that was right for me, and I felt so much more at home within the Graham vocabulary because it's a technique that is very philosophical, very psychological, and I really felt, so here's me in satiric.
That's you? Like, roughly how old were you at that point in time?
Probably 19, probably 20 or 21. This is Satiric Festival song.
What's Satiric Festival mean?
It's the name of Martha Graham's solo,
okay.
And it's a piece from the 1930s. Was choreographed in the 1930s, and she's a female clown character.
Oh, this person's a clown character.
Yes, so it's a very quirky, fun, playful character. Yeah, mischievous.
Sounds like you, quirky, fun, mischievous. That could be you, perhaps.
Sure.
Are you wearing dance shoes in there, or is that barefoot?
That's barefoot. Most modern dance is done barefoot.
I see. And so you were in that particular role at age 19. How did you get to that role? And I'm asking these questions because I'm building up to what you're doing now, which is, I think all these things helped you become the educator you are.
I think, well, I started in the school, and then, so I was a little older actually. I was probably 21 there, because I started in the school at age 19. By the time I was 20, I was in the second company, then called the Martha Graham Dance Ensemble, now called Graham 2. And that's when I got to do this role. I believe I was the first second company member ever permitted to do this solo. I believe previously it was only those in the main company. And then after I had spent 3 years in that second company, I was promoted to the first company, the Martha Graham Dance Company, which is one of the leading modern dance companies in the world.
I was going to ask you that question, because those of us who don't know much about dancing, which I really don't, although I am a good disco dancer.
Yes.
And I told you about that and you made fun of me, but that's okay. But I was known as Disco Bob in law school, and I used to wear the two-tone shoes and the plaid pants, all that stuff. Tell me about the Graham organization, why that's a big deal, and in your world, why that's significant, and if it's still significant.
Sure. So Martha Graham was the mother of modern dance, and the Martha Graham Dance Company is noted all over the world for its invention, its robust innovation, a departure from classical ballet. Telling the story of the times, like she didn't exist in one time. Yes, she is related to the modern art movement, right? Everything that was happening in modern art, classically, Stravinsky, and then you think about Picasso, Cubism, but her career spanned so many decades until her death in the 1990s. She really was creating for the times. And
when you were a youngster, 19 or 21 years of age, when kids get accepted to the college they want, it's all excitement. When you got accepted to her studio, her dance program, was that a big deal?
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the most monumental moments of my life, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Even better than being on this show today?
Well, close second.
Close second, okay. And when you were in that role, did you have a vision as to what you were going to do with your life? Was there a vision you had?
I definitely wanted to dance. I did suffer some injuries, and by the time I was 25, retired pretty much, although I still continued to work with the companies that you mentioned. Occasionally I'll still do a performance now and here and there. Actually, June 18th, I'll be performing in the the brand new Katona Dance Festival.
Are you going to dance?
Yeah.
What role?
I'm not quite sure. I'm creating my own solo for it. It's a little bit of as I understand it, a little bit of a alternative festival in the streets of sorts.
Really?
So it's a brand new festival started by my friend Maria Colaco. So
when you said you retired from dancing at when you were 25, you still have danced through the years, have you?
Yes.
Oh, you still do dance, but just different kind of dancing, I guess, right?
And not as my main source of income. Like, it's not my I would no longer call that my profession. Like, my profession now is more in education.
What's this picture right here?
That is from Night of the New Moon. It was a collaboration with one of our faculty members at the Ridgefield Conservatory of Dance, Mary Beth Hansen, and her husband, James Graber, and some other artists. That was in upstate New York. And I was performing a solo that I had choreographed for that event. That was probably, I want to say maybe 4 years ago.
How does one become a choreographer?
I think we all can be a choreographer. We can make dances. As far as a professional choreographer, well, I think having a career in established dance and just an element of creativity.
And all those roles you had dancing. What's this one, by the way? What is
That's
that?
the same. Night of the New Moon.
Okay. So these things you've done, dancing, getting to the Martha Graham's program. You went to college. We'll get to that in a second. The choreographing. All those things, I bet you, are background to what you're actually doing now.
Absolutely.
In your capacity as executive director of the conservatory, and this program I want to talk about today, your syllabus rewrote. But I want to get into this background because I think I'm very interested in it. Yeah. So I want to hear more about this. So at some point in time, you transitioned, I guess, into educating and teaching. By the way, where'd you go to school in terms of dancing? You mentioned some schools you went to. Where did you go? You got degrees and things in dancing? What'd you do?
Well, I got the certification in the Martha Graham dance technique, and then I got I didn't finish at the Boston Conservatory, the BFA. I ended up performing, focusing on my career, my professional performance career. I went back and got my undergraduate in psychology, and then I did my graduate studies at Goddard College in Vermont, which is sadly no longer, but it was like an independent study. I got a master's in fine arts and interdisciplinary arts. So we all sort of designed our own with our faculty advisors. My focus, of course, was on early American modern dance and embodiment theory, embodiment studies, who we are in our bodies, and kind of really informed why I danced and why I kept dancing and why I started to teach, and laid the foundation for what my teaching philosophy was.
When you say embodiment, what does that mean in terms of dance?
So I'm kind of interested in what is the body, what is the soul, what is our connection, are they separate, are they the same? So James Roby was the fantastic director at the time, along with the assistant director, Melissa Girth.
Roby was my daughter's director.
I know. Yeah, and I think your daughter was there the last year. Her last year was my first year, but we didn't get to work with each other directly. So I was teaching ballet, and then for that first year, filling in for someone actually who had abruptly left for couldn't teach for some reason. And then I was teaching modern, and then I started to, I think I think I started to take over before I was director, the contemporary dance ensemble. So I was choreographing a lot on the students. And then I took over as director, I think it was 2013, like you said, maybe 2014, around
that
then.
time.
Yeah, and I've continued to teach and wear all the hats.
You know, it's interesting. I was in your studio recently a couple times getting this book that we're going to go through, et cetera. I was shocked at what the studio is, because what it was when Jessica graduated high school in 2009, she graduated high school 9, college 13. The studio is much different today than it was then.
Physically and, yes, because physically we are next door to where we were.
That's what it
Yeah.
confused me. And when I walk in the street, you see this little dance here. I said, that's where they must train every day. And how come it's
Yeah.
not filled every night? I didn't realize that in the back,
We have 3 large studios. Sometimes people look in the window and they think we're just that studio in front, but we have the whole facility, and that build out was done around the time right before I became the director, and basically it was an exciting time for us because we were kind of peppered in 3 different locations. There was the one beautiful Main Street studio, but we couldn't house all of our offerings there. So there was a satellite studio, and then we were renting the Ridgefield Playhouse, a facility there. So now we have the luxury of being all in one roof and in that great big space.
Do you still teach, even though you're not the executive director?
Yes, at least 12 classes a week.
Do you teach old guys how to do tap?
I do not teach tap. I do not teach. I can teach beginner tap.
Okay, thank you. You said you were a psychology major.
Mm-hmm.
Does being a psychology major, does that education you had help you in what you do as a dance instructor and head of the executive director?
That's a really great question. Yes. So understanding early childhood psychology on a basic level, of course, really informed how I teach. But also, it's also very helpful just overall in understanding human nature and working with families, and as a nonprofit, working with a board of directors and kind of, I guess, delegating and knowing. I think someone said to me once, it's really good to know what you're good at, but it's really good to know what you're not good at. So I think we've kind of assembled a great team. And my teaching philosophy, I always say it's a little bit of Howard Gardner, right? Like what I take from that is really trying to balance allowing for creative freedom, especially with young children, but also balancing that with an appropriate direct instruction, but knowing when to allow for some children, especially with different ways of learning. Sometimes they need a little wider berth of freedom than might typically be in the classroom. Also, something really important to me is, like, it really comes from the Maria Montessori thought process of knowing, like, working with multiple levels and age groups. So you come in as a beginner, new to material. It's also really important that next year to really kind of be trying to master and get a hold of really comfort within the material, but to never skip the next step in the learning process, which is to have mastered and be able to be a leader. And I find in our community and just the way life is now, with so many pressures on our children and adults, but really with the kids now, there is definitely a push and a pressure to go that next step and next step and next step. And sometimes we skip that, the marinating of what we really know and being able to be a leader. And it's I think something that I pay particular attention to, because I've seen what happens when gaps are skipped. And then maybe you have to go back and relearn, or an injury happens because you haven't really mastered it quite yet before going to that next level, if that makes sense.
Everything makes sense. In fact, I have about 8 different comments I want to make on what you just said. I'll go one by one as I think about it. As you may know, I was on the Board of Education 15 years, 9 years in my prior town of Shelton and 6 in Richfield. And one important factor in education is individualized instruction. Every person learns differently.
Yeah.
Every person, some people are visual learners, some are auditory learners and whatever. I had a friend in college at Yale, undergraduate, who would sit in a class with me. He wouldn't take a note the whole time. I would sit there and take every single word down and then go back to my dorm afterwards and then review it, et cetera. Well, that applies to what you just said before, because if you have a class of 10 or 12 kids, I don't know how many kids you have in a class, depends, I guess, upon what level.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And each kid learns differently, and each kid, maybe one kid is there because mommy or daddy said you have to do it. And maybe some, my son played football, and there were some guys who went for football because mommy or daddy said you have to play football. Those kids didn't make it.
Yeah.
So you have different kids of different interests, et cetera. So how do you identify that as either the teacher of the class or the person in charge of the school? How do you deal with the fact that every kid is a little different? And we're going to get into that from your booklet. And by the way, this little thing we have in front of us, you've been seeing, folks, we're going to get into that. It's a syllabus that you wrote, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get into all that, but I'm building up to it. You see, you've got to tell them. So how do you deal with the individualized instruction to get kids to learn at their level?
So it's such a good topic, and I could talk about this for all of today and many other days.
You come back from their show. You come back from their show, and we'll do it. Promise.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So
But,
talk about it.
So the thing is, yes, everybody learns differently, and at the same time, I teach in a conservatory, which is very committed to tradition, codified technique, respect for history and culture. So it can never just be a free-for-all, right? Like that would make no sense. So yes, it's always in that balance of structure of classroom. I think it's important to set expectations with families. We've really increased at the Ridgefield Conservatory of Dance, like what I kind of see as support outside the classroom. So we started to, I'm just talking about like setting those expectations and making sure families are involved. So we publish so much on the website. We also started to do like visitation day, so visitors week. So parents can actually come in and observe a class. We couldn't have that every day because that would be very distracting, but that's a good balance where they do at least get one day to come into the studio. We also started doing progress reports. So it's a checklist,
really?
So parents can see and then follow up if they want. We additionally, just last year, began offering conferences for like a certain age. So once, past the elementary years, you can come in and talk about your child's progress, next steps, and all that sort of thing. So
what you talked about is very important. In my profession, for example, when a client comes in, something called managing expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. Every student in your school, the parent thinks that person, what's the key role in the Nutcracker? What's the best role?
The Sugar Plum Fairy. We can't have 100 Sugar Plum Fairies.
So everybody thinks, I'm sorry, I apologize for not remembering that, but every parent thinks their child should be the Sugar Plum Fairy.
Yeah.
My son played football, he should be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But and we all think that, and it's really important for me as an attorney when someone comes as a client to manage expectations. Say, you know what, maybe you can't get $10 million in that case when it's only worth $1 million, that kind of thing. How do you deal with that? Is that part of your psychology background maybe, or it's a hard thing?
I guess so. I just think it's experience, and something important to remember is when a parent comes in with a concern, it may be the 800th time I'm hearing that concern, but it's their very first time having that concern. So having the patience to really talk with families and help them understand, and like leveling is always a concern, right? So we only have 6 levels at our school. If you started in first grade, you would have mastered all of our curriculum by the 6th grade, but you've got 12 grades, right? So it's typical that our students spend 2-3 years, and that's why it's so important for families to understand coming in at the beginning stages, learning, working with the curriculum, the technique, and then that 3rd step. Now that doesn't apply to my young dancers curriculum. That's more age, because there's so many rapid developmental milestones from age 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, which is what my curriculum covers. But yeah, I think it's just being able to
be honest.
Be honest, but also really help to be patient and really help people understand.
That goes to 2 things. First of all, I'm going to say that if my daughter was typical of the students at your conservatory, she knew who the Sugar Plum Fairy should be. And she would know that, Dad, I'm probably not the better kid. We never had this conversation, just doing it as a hypothetical. She knew perhaps that she wasn't going to be as good as this other person who got the role. And I think often the kids, the student, knows better than the parent, and it makes it a hard thing because you have to listen sometimes to what the parent, what the student really thinks. But it's we all have hard jobs. You have an especially hard job because you have to deal with all these different component parts.
Yeah.
I want to transition a little bit to, and when we come back to some of these topics, this booklet that's right in front of us, it's a syllabus, and this was why I really got involved. You've been on my show a few times, talking about hockey in the past, Kelly Gleason in the past, and all that, and they've been great shows, well received. But you developed a concept that talked about a curriculum for young students, and you said age 1, and the booklet we have in front of us says starting 1 to 7. And I want to just go through, first of all, before I get into the details I want to hit, and I, of course, being who I am, I highlighted things and whatever. I'm not deposition, there's not deposition, I'm not cross-examining you yet. But tell me what it was that caused you to develop this syllabus. And by the way, this is a copy of the actual booklet itself, and that's just the cover sheet. So why did you decide to do this? What was the impetus?
Well, for the chicken or the egg, right? So what first happened was I was teaching all these young children, and even started teaching young children probably when I was 19 started. I was like an assistant at the Martha Graham School, and then I was kind of teaching in my 20s, 30s, 40s, developing this, my way of teaching. And what I really found was consistency is so important. So
in what way is consistency important?
So children need routine. And I think when I was a young teacher, I'd kind of try this and try that and see kind of what stuck. But it was completely ineffective to change it up every week because they really needed that routine. So what happened was I found, okay, I'm working with, I guess I started with age 3 or age 4. For a long time, I didn't teach anything before age 4. So I knew kind of developmentally what they were doing, and then I started to think, well, and there was a lot of demand for it, right? Parents really wanted an activity with their child together. So as I started to do that, it kind of ballooned. We really had this burgeoning program and very popular. And our 1s and 2s are now some of our most popular classes. But I think that what makes this kind of great for other dance educators, especially if they haven't found comfort yet in working with that young age group, is everything is right there. I have links to playlists. So the music kind of, you can follow the music along with knowing what's next for the class, and the children know. I have a 2-year-old. Sorry, she's not even 2 yet. She's not even 2 yet. She was the only one that showed up for class last week because it was after our spring concert. It's just a hectic time of year, so the whole class, it's a small class anyway. This 1-year-old, almost 2, was pointing to what was next before it was next. So she knew the balls were coming next, so she's walking over to the balls, grabbing the balls. So that routine, like it gave her confidence. The children gain the confidence into knowing the structure of the class, and it keeps everything flowing nicely.
So you decided, with that background, and your background in psychology and all the work you've done, you decided to put an actual syllabus together.
Yeah.
Take you a long time to do this? How long did it take you?
30 years.
I thought you were only 30 years old. So
yeah, something like that.
So it's like being.
It's a lifetime of just working and never perfecting, but certainly. And I was actually really encouraged by other teachers who saw what I was doing. Like, this is a great program you have. You should write it. You should offer it to others.
It's funny. I do something similar in the law. I have for the last, I'll say 30 years like you did. Whenever I read a case in family law, I would take that case, if I found something interesting about it, I'd take that case and put it in a chronological order by topic of alimony, child support, whatever. And so gradually it's now 125 pages long, and I have these different sites, and when I have my associates doing research for me, I'd say, well, go to my thing and look at this, this, and this. So I've developed that over the years. So if I were doing a syllabus for a young lawyer, I'd have it ready, but it'd be a 30-year project.
Yeah.
It didn't just happen yesterday.
Yeah.
I was pretty interested in some topics. I put my glasses on so I can make sure I don't mess it up. But in your booklet, you had something, you start out with something called A Philosophy of Teaching in the Young Dancer's Studio. I thought that was a very interesting concept to say that you're starting out with a philosophy. Why did you create that as part of the initial page 2 of your booklet? Why did you write about the philosophy? Because I think it was very critical to do that. It made me understand what I read later on.
Well, I think it came after the development of the curriculum. I think it's important for educators, but also parents, to understand that there's a method to my madness, and it's a well thought out process. And like you said, like it's come from a lifetime of doing, rather than just trying it out. Because I certainly did just try it out, and that's what you have to do as an educator.
I mean, what's interesting is that goals are very important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when some people put their sons or daughters in Little League or softball or whatever, or dance, whatever, and I think nowadays, there's several changes in society. We'd have a political discussion, but not for this show, about how society has changed in the last 30, 40 years, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think one thing is that we have expectations for our kids that may not be in necessarily their best interest.
Yeah.
Maybe a kid wants to go to dancing school just to have the fun of going to dancing school. Maybe the kid wants to go because his or her friend goes to dancing school. And the philosophy of why a kid is going to dance. Some people want to go to, I don't know, what are the two most famous dance schools for college now? It's probably, tell me.
Oh gosh, everyone points to Juilliard as a gold standard.
Okay.
Jacobs School of Music
Okay.
at Indiana, which we actually just had a student
Did you really?
get into. Yeah, Evie Arena. We're very excited.
So the thing is that, you know, when a kid's in 2nd or 3rd grade, your parents saying, well, you're going to go to Yale, Harvard, Duke, or whatever it is, the kid may or may not want that, et cetera. Well, you know, if your parent has this kid in dance school, let the kid be who he wants to be. And
Yeah.
I saw that in your philosophy.
Yeah.
You didn't write it that way, but that's how I was reading. I was saying, Amy's pretty damn smart because you have that. So look at your philosophy. Any comment before I go to your philosophy exactly?
I guess I just feel like so much of dance has nothing to do with dance. And what I mean by that is we are, and I say we because it's in what my work at the Ridgefield Conservatory of Dance is a big part of it. My work at what I do at the college level at WestConn, and what I used to do at the Hart School at the University of Hartford, and what I'm doing by trying to pass this kind of way of teaching to any other teachers. The point is, we're teaching young people to be successful through the skills of dance, what they acquire through dance, to whatever they're going to do next, right? I always say it's so funny, not to get too off topic, but we see that at the school, so many of our dancers are also excellent academics. And the National Dance Education Organization has this organization through them for where you can recognize your students. So we're established as a chapter for the National Honor Society for Dance Arts. And it recognizes what the skills of, like the link between the skills of dance and academia, and how they kind of volunteership, and how so many of them, it goes kind of hand in hand.
My daughter's close friends from dancing went to very good schools. One young lady was older than Jessica in my son's class in high school, went to NYU in the famous dance program at NYU. So you're right. And also, kids stay out of trouble too. If they're dancing, you can't get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but going back to your philosophy, I'm going to read the first paragraph. It says, my teaching philosophy is naturally informed by the great many wonderful teachers I have had. And so you're going to be the person who young kids say, well, that's my great teacher. And was influenced by my research of educational philosophy during my graduate studies at Goddard College, primarily the ideas of Howard Gardner, Rudolf Steiner, and Maria Montessori. I cannot discount the value of my understanding through relating with children during the many years I spent working as a babysitter. I never thought of it until I read this. As a babysitter in high school, a nanny during my professional dance training years, my work over the past 30 years as an educator, and of course she said as an imam. So tell me, I never really had thought about how that might impact you as a dance teacher and dance instructor and head of the school, and how other teachers get affected by the fact that those different roles as a nanny, when you were doing the nanny, you did because you want to make some money. You didn't probably do it because I'm going to be a professional nanny, or maybe you did. But having the experience, everything builds on your quote resume, unquote. Any comments about that?
Oh, I guess just working with different families and different people, and even my dancing years, right? So I got to dance with these amazing artists from all over the world with very different backgrounds than I had. And yeah, working with young people, and that's all years of experience of working with young people in some capacity, even if it was just helping them with their math homework, right? So, and definitely as a mom, gosh, that's been really monumental in my leadership role, because I raised children in this community. I'm still raising one. So it's to be able to hold multiple perspectives at the same time in the best interest of the students that we're bringing up is really important, I think. Not to say you can't be a great educator if you're not a mom or a dad, but I just feel that, at least for me, it really means something to me when I hear a parent's concern, because I've been there, you know.
I don't know your demographics, but I would suspect most of your students are from Richfield, but you have some from Danbury.
No, actually, 50%, about half of our students are from other towns, mostly in New York.
I was going to say
Yeah.
New York. Some of Jesse's best friends were from New York.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, there's a lot of pressures on kids in these communities.
Oh, tremendous.
And I think, however, what you're saying is you don't want to add the pressure in your school. You want the kids to enjoy themselves and learn and develop how they're going to develop. Coach.
And at the same time, yeah, you're absolutely right. And at the same time, our community has the best of the best at its fingertips, right? We are so close to New York. We can bring in the artists. You look in Ridgefield, there's everything is such high, like top-notch level.
Yes.
It's a dream. It's a dream town. First Connecticut Cultural District, it was named, right? So we also want to honor the traditions of a conservatory and still be what people come to us for, right? Because they do want excellence. So it's always a balance. It's always a balance.
I'm a big basketball fan. I know you're not as big a basketball fan, but Coach K from Duke, who retired from Duke, said two things that are very important. One is, number one, everybody runs his or her own race. Everybody runs his or her own race, and it ties into all what you're talking about now, because each young person at your school runs his or her own race. The second thing he says is, life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Life is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
You have to take all those things into account, and as I'm reading your philosophy, it's really critical. And I'm going to go to one more thing I had. Well, you can see all the yellow highlights I have. See, I take you seriously, and you're one of the great people we have in arts in our community. I know you're too humble to say that, but what you contribute to our community is
Thank you.
phenomenal. And we're going to get to the Carnival of Animals.
Yes.
If I forget to get into it, you got to jump over me, okay? You said, a positive presence. Isn't it great when someone quotes you? I mean, I'm quoting you. I better get the correct citations. A positive presence, I provide a nurturing, very important word I thought, progressive learning environment where students grow in confidence, we're going to hit these in a moment, feeling safe to explore movement. Traditional technique class exercises are enhanced with experiences through props, quotes, reading, and viewing materials. Mm-hmm. That blew me away. You know, I can think back when I was at Yale, I was take a music class. I went the first 2 days, and all these kids in the class were expert in piano, whatever. And I said, gee, I don't know how to read music yet. I better drop the class. I was afraid to take it as a pass-fail kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is all the things we were mentioning before. So comment about what I just said in terms of, not actually what I said, what you said that I read. Mm-hmm. If you want to see the quotes, you can give them to
As far as well,
first of all, you said traditional technique class. What's a traditional technique class mean?
Oh, probably, I was referring to, you can go anywhere in the world and take a ballet class and it's always going to be the same. There's always a ballet bar. Then you do the exercises preparing you, warming you up for the center. Then there's the center exercises that build upon that. Then there will be some across the floor movement. So that's a traditional class.
Where you learn the first position, right?
Yeah.
I knew that much, right? All right, now, but here's what you said, though. You said you provide a nurturing, progressive learning environment. I thought that was important. The nurturing part is important, and also the progressive part's important.
Yeah, well, especially with young children, they need to feel comfortable and safe in your room. Yeah, and progressive building blocks, building on it. It's interesting because my first lessons for the ones and two, well, the ones are a little bit different. The 2 and 3 year olds dance with their parents, right?
Oh, really?
Or any caregiver, aunt, uncle, friend, whatever. Somebody. Their grown-up companion. And then age 3, 4, independent class, it's almost identical curriculum, but where the departure is where the progression is now we're doing it on our own. We are doing the movements unprompted by our grown-up. We're following directions more, so especially that age, it's like so similar, the curriculum. Then the next age up, of course, more locomotor exercises are introduced. So the progression, that's what I was referring to.
My daughter and I were practicing for her wedding, the father-daughter dance, which we never had because COVID hit, and we had a small wedding versus the big wedding, but we practiced for about a month. So she was the parent and I was the student, and she was trying to teach me with my 2 left feet to dance. But I think having parents do it together with their kids, it's also a bonding thing. It's also a really nice bonding thing. How do you say you mentioned props, quotes, reading, and viewing materials. I thought the reading was kind of cool in this. How do you intertwine that in your dancing lessons for the young kids? So
the props, there's links to where to buy props in the curriculum too. So they're very specific props that we use: balls, bubbles, scarves, and what we do with them. It's so great for kids to have tangibles, to keep them on track, to physically interact with. So it's funny because from the outside it looks like we're playing with toys, but they're actually there's a real educational meaning behind each of them. Reading materials, it's books and stories that we're telling. Sometimes we're physically telling the stories with our bodies. Yeah, taking them through exploration.
When I walked past your studio, I wondered a few times, why are these toys here? And when I read this, I said, okay, now I understand. There's another thing I liked here a lot, which was there are opportunities to engage in dialogue, which not only allows students to ask questions, but also allows me insight into where they are in their journey, which facilitates individually paced learning. I was thinking, you're in dance studio, no talking, whatever.
Oof.
Ooh, this struck me.
Absolutely, there's no talking in a true ballet class.
Okay.
However, or modern class, with the exception of questions and sometimes dialogue, but there's never just blurting out. There's also never blurting out in my young children's classes, but what there is, because so many of them are verbal processors, there are so many opportunities where we go around the room and each child has the chance to say something, right, very specific. So I ask a very direct question. What color are your butterfly wings today? Well, now they get to be creative and tell you all about the rainbow sparkly butterfly wings that they might have, or what have you. It allows them to have an appropriate moment and an outlet. So I give them several chances in the class to do that, and then they know now it's quiet time.
But the thing is also you mentioned, though, is not only do they have a chance to express themselves, but you, by listening, have a chance to say, you know what, they didn't really get what I was trying to show them, or whatever, and so it's learning for you as well. Talk about that aspect of it.
So I guess I can't think of an instance where, in those situations, where I would be asking them, but certainly if they raise their hand and they're telling me that they don't understand something, of course, we just go over it again. It's all, repetition and allowing for that freedom.
You must have amazing patience.
I have been told I do.
Yes.
I do have a lot of patience.
Yeah. Well, you've been on the show with me. What more? And we had the prep shows, but no, the patience it has to be to have, you're showing the kid a step and they're whispering to Susie or Johnny or whatever, and it's got to take a lot of patience. And then, like if you're a math teacher, and you've told the same algebra 2 story about train A leaves the train at 3 o'clock and train B leaves at 4 o'clock, and you've told it many times, and when do they get together, et cetera. And when the parent and the kid, the student doesn't understand the answer, you have to do it another time, another time. It's got to be like, you know, it makes you drink Diet Dr. Pepper or something serious like that. But it takes amazing patience. Let's see what else I want to do here. I want to also talk about, you have something called, is there any more you want to talk about your philosophy that I haven't covered?
No, I think you covered it quite well.
Thank you very much. I work hard to be knowledgeable, which I'm not on this topic. You also send in here that you have, you start out saying, welcome to pre-ballet, the Piantaggini method. What's the Piantaggini method?
It's just simply what I've developed over the years. It's just the name of the curriculum because it's my decades of experience in research and philosophy.
It's your thing.
It's my thing, and I think we do find our thing, right? Our personalities, you know, you say I'm patient, but I think we kind of, if we stay open, we kind of find our niche and what we're supposed to be doing, and I really like making a difference like that.
Before today's show with you and before every one of the shows I've done, I tell the guests, they say, well, what should I do? What should I say? Whatever they may ask, I say, just be yourself. And I make that comment to you now because as the teacher or as the head of the school, you are not going to do it exactly the way the next person does it, or even your protege does it.
And there's so many other ways to do it. This is just what works for me.
It's probably the right way. No, it's like,
no such thing.
No such thing. But you mentioned here that you include in your book several things that were important. I'm only on page 3, so we're going to have like 4 more shows. But you listed some things that I thought were important. A listing of solutions to common challenges. Tell me a few common challenges that exist in teaching young students, which may be different for the kids who are 1 to 7 versus the kids who are 8 to 15, but give me a couple examples of what the solutions to common challenges are.
I think what I'm referencing there is everyday happenings, right? Like our educational director, Polly Kingsbury, did exactly what I do in many of her roles, and she's still our educational director. She always shared this story about, I have a new red truck. And you know, everyone's got to talk about, you know, if one has a new red truck they want to tell you about, well, all of a sudden you've spent 10 minutes because everyone wants to talk about their new red truck or what have you. So classroom management, how to move things along quickly, potty breaks, just again, managing expectations. I mean, something as simple as going to the bathroom, we remind parents, like, please ask your child to go before, because if they spend 10 minutes going to the bathroom, they've now missed a third of their class.
Such a simple instruction, but so critical.
So critical.
You know, it's like, and you know, if I could write this topic, I might say, your method would be use common sense.
Yeah.
You know?
If you arrive a half an hour early, your 3-year-old is probably bored with the space because they've been sitting in the waiting room and now they're restless and they want to get going, and the magic of the studio is over. So arrive more like 10 or 15 minutes early. So, you know, little things like that.
But don't come 10 minutes late.
Correct.
Do you have a rule
possible.
if someone's not there for start of class, do they get to go in? Or?
For safety reasons, yeah, as the older ones, but I would never turn away a 3-year-old.
Of course,
who's
yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
You know, you also in this booklet have something called Tip for Successful Pre-Ballet Classes for Parents.
Well,
I like that a lot.
Cheat sheet.
It's sort of a cheat sheet. Common sense is so important in everything we do. Just because you go to college and get a degree like you and I have, doesn't mean we know everything, and you got to use your common sense. I just got notice we have 4 minutes left of the show.
Oh, then let's talk about the show.
Let's talk the show. Do you mind if I do that? Because I was going to jump to, okay, there's something called what? The Animal
Carnival.
The
Carnival of the Animals
Sorry.
is a wonderful children's ballet, Camille Saint-Saëns music.
Okay, say again, please.
It's the Carnival of the Animals, and the composer is Camille Saint-Saëns, and the choreographer is Christina Fagundes-Turner. It's at the Ridgefield Playhouse, June 6th and 7th. It features some of our dancers. It features Henry Seth, formerly of New York City Ballet. He plays the role of the tortoise. So this is ballet specifically for children. Christina has had an illustrious career in ballet, and we are so fortunate to have her setting this ballet on our dancers. It's a very short ballet. It's only maybe 35 minutes long, so it's an excellent first ballet for children as young as they go.
Or even adults.
Oh, absolutely, for adults. And we are so excited to be working with the Ridgefield Symphony Orchestra with live music. It is going to be such a spectacular production, and we hope that people come see it because it's such a great artistic collaboration, live music, live dancing, incredible artistry. We're so excited.
I'm coming.
Great.
Question for you. Are kids in your school going to be in the show?
Yes, that's who is in the show.
It's all those, okay.
Yes.
Ah.
Well, it's about 26 of our students that auditioned and wanted to participate. Everyone got a role who auditioned, and so it's very exciting. One guest performer is Henry Seth of New York City
Did you
Ballet,
audition
formerly.
for the show?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Okay. Well, you're running the show.
Yeah.
And why do you think having that kind of show in Richfield is important to the students?
Well, it's our first spring story ballet that we've done at the Ridgefield Playhouse. So it's our first thing at the Playhouse that isn't the Nutcracker. And our Nutcracker is so popular, and it's something our students really love doing, and we really wanted to do something more for our dancers and give them an opportunity to perform with the elevated experience of now working with live musicians, professional live musicians.
That's probably a hard adjustment for the kids.
Oh, it's going to be, yeah.
Have you started rehearsals?
Not in conjunction with them. That won't be until next week when we're in the theater. But I also want to mention something really excellent is our sensory-friendly performance. That's the Sunday 11 a.m. performance, where anyone with any special needs, and it's going to be one of 3 performances that we have: Saturday night, Sunday, and Saturday night is a special performance that has an after event. So there's a little after party reception.
So I should go to the one on June 6th?
Yes.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. The other thing is, I remember my daughter was doing dance recitals, and you probably start from like day 1 of the school year, getting ready for recital. I don't know if you do that nowadays, but were kids getting ready for this particular Carnival of the Animals for weeks and weeks and weeks?
Yeah, they've had rehearsal with Christina specifically all year, since September.
I forgot to ask this. Can you please tell me the website where someone could read more about both your curriculum and this Carnival of the Animal?
Yeah, so my curriculum, preballetmethod.com.
Say again, please.
Preballetmethod.com.
Okay.
That's my website. And Carnival of the Animals, you can visit ridgefieldplayhouse.org for tickets there.
Great. And I want to ask you to now, in the last minute or so that we have, tell me what's on your mind. Anything you want to tell us about your studio, your performances, your studies, your curriculum, anything you want to talk about? I'm giving you, you're going to get the last word.
Oh, gosh.
Which I rarely give to people, as you know.
Okay. Well, I feel honored.
You're honored.
I'm just happy to be here, to be able to share my story and what dance has meant for me. I think that dance is so much more than dance, dance technique. Like, it's really, you asked about embodiment theory, and I've always felt in raising my own children, I just wanted them to find their thing, right? I wanted them to have a thing, like find something that excites them. And, my younger son, of course, it's hockey. My older son, it's auto mechanics. And it's been other things for them through the years. For me, it was dance, and it was my lifeline. And my parents had the savvy to know that supporting that for me would build a lifetime of dreams for me.
Your comment just now reminds me of a movie called City Slickers with Billy Crystal. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I have.
At the end of the movie, he asks this, he just turned 30. He's gonna be old, turning 30, right? And he asked this cowboy who was like in his 80s, what's the key to life? And the cowboy said, 1. Billy Crystal says, what's 1 mean? He said, find the one thing in life that you enjoy and build a career around it. And you, Amy, have clearly followed that advice, not from the movie, but from your heart and your soul. You are terrific. It's an honor to have you on my show. You're going to come back, promise. You already raised your right hand.
Yes, I shall.
And I want to tell you all to, if you go to watch the show she mentioned, or the Nutcracker, or whatever, go to any of these, whether it's hers or any production, because you got to love the artistic activities of kids in our communities. Thank you very much for being on the show. This is Bob Potster on The Bobby O Show. Shalom.